We need a fuel system for our Cummins engine and our 4x4 Chevy van. We can't have any of those pesky warranties, so we're going to avoid that right away on our FASS Sump kit. All right, all I did when I did that machining was tighten up that gap right there. These are made for plastic fuel tanks, so they're designed to leave more space so you don't over crush the plastic tank by tightening the bolt. It just has a limited stop in there, and I just adjusted it so that it's more the thickness for our steel tank. I love FASS stuff, but whoever designed this, I think figured a 3 3/4 hole saw was commonplace, and those are absolutely not. And that's what size they require. I don't have one. I can't get one local. When they build these tanks, they have one thing in mind, and that's to make it a weapon or something. I don't know why they always leave these so sharp. The factory and the aftermarket, they leave them sharp. We also have a little bit of a tight clearance around our shock. You can see how the factory bent the corner, and that's to clear the factory shock. Our shock is in relatively the same spot, but it's a little bit farther forward, so I just added a little bit extra clearance just so it's not quite as tight in there, but it ends up not being tight at all. But we're going to smooth this thing out and make it so that it doesn't cut the crap out of us every time we reach our arms up there. Well, since we have to wait for our hole saw, I'm going to go ahead and do a Krylon makeover on our hubs here. It's actually Rust-Oleum flat black, professional, and you can't even see the runs. You see how heavy I put that on there? Once it dries, you can't see it. You see it? There's no runs. They just magically disappear. I don't know what it is about that stuff, but that stuff works so good when it comes to that. Just let it dry and the runs just kind of go away. So I redid the drum brake, which is the parking brake as well, and then put it together. And then I'm going to hand paint on high heat paint. That's a 1200 degree paint around the drum part. I don't know if it would actually get that hot there, but it's fairly close to the rotor. So I just hand painted it on with the high heat stuff there. But it ends up looking pretty good. I got new brakes in the rear. Nothing special, but at least they're new. Hey, we got our hole saw finally. So now we get to drill our hole. So 3 3/4. Obviously, you want it to the as far rear as possible. In my tank, I don't really have much of a choice but to put it right in the middle. But it'll work. Now I stuck a magnet inside there, put the magnet, hold the tank so the magnet's at the bottom, and then use an air wand to just keep blowing. Eventually all the chips will be stuck to your magnet, and then you can pull your magnet out and then just double check that there's nothing left in there. Now I got my straps hanging, and this is the factory tank for the van. So this is a 33-gallon tank that normally would have been in the van, and it still fits, but we do have to do a little bit of modifications to it. This is the factory fuel sender, so it's a GM 090 ohm sender. I'm making sure that the ohms are reading correctly, and then I soldered all the connections so that we don't ever have anything come loose in there. And then we're going to do a connector that's accessible outside the tank, so you don't have to drop the tank just to address a fuel sender that's not working. I forgot to point out that I crimped the ends and soldered them shut. And that's why you don't see caps on the hoses that we're not using. Now that big line that I have on there, that is for while you're filling it up. That's a vent that goes up the filler neck. And then the little line there is the vent for the tank itself. And that's going to end up with a check ball on it installed a little later. So I just got to get those routed so that they don't get pinched while the tank is installed. And since everything on our truck is pretty tight on the passenger side there because of the extra frame rail inside, I had to do a U-turn with our vent line and run it out the other way so that we can actually get to it, because we can't actually get our arms in there once this tank is installed. So I'm adding foam so that everywhere it's being pushed up against the body of the van, it doesn't rub through. And then along the passenger side there, that's real tight. It's actually touching the frame rail. So we're going to end up adding a strip of rubber in between there just to make sure that that doesn't wear through the tank eventually. Luckily, the frame is folded over right there, so it's real smooth. But we still want to make sure we don't want metal to metal rubbing anywhere. Hey, and now we get to install it. So they install easy. I put the cutout so it's towards the rear, making it as easy as possible for fuel to get in our sump if we were going uphill. Obviously, you use a lot more fuel going uphill than downhill, so I always err on the side of that. And then just, I have it installed so they're pointing forwards. Now don't worry, we are going to be putting a skid plate under this, even though it is up fairly high. It's higher than the leaf springs, but we're still going to be putting a skid plate over this that'll hold our lines up. And then I added a vent line to the filler neck. That's that rubber line there, and it has a check valve at the top of it. That way it allows it to breathe. Unless it flips, if the van were to flip over, then the check valve would seal that off so you won't have fuel draining out. And then we'll use a sealed cap. We don't need a vented cap now because we have our own vent that we just controlled. Then I added that sectional line so that we can do a disconnect there. So if we have to drop the tank, we don't have to drop the filler neck. We can disconnect everything right here in this area under the van. All right, guys, just real quick. Here's what that vent looks like. So it looks like just a vent. But they're also, there's a check ball in it. You can see the ball right there. So if you were to flip, you can't blow through it. So if the vehicle were to flip over, it won't leak fuel out your vent. Then when it's this way, it limits the amount of flow. So you can go both ways, but at a limited capacity. It's not just like open air vent. And then there's a screen on there. I want to put the ground somewhere really easy to get to, since you have to disconnect it every time we drop the tank. I don't want it to be hidden. Okay. Now we don't want to rely just on the screw head for the ground. So that's where these washers work really good. They'll cut through the paint, and that way we don't have to sand a big area off before we put it on there. Because sanding an area off, then it makes it rust. And this will probably still rust, but it won't be as bad. Like that. Now that's all. All right, guys, so you can see those straps are at an angle. Try to hold the camera perfectly level. The straps are at an angle. So the reason I put them in the grooves there and I'm trying to pull the tank that way is because no matter what, it's going to be touching that frame rail. And if it's going to be touching the frame rail, I want it pulling into the frame rail. So that's why I did that. Otherwise, we could have just ran those straps straight, but it wouldn't have been pulling very hard into the frame rail, and that would cause more rubbing. Now, I did put the neoprene rubber in there, so that'll keep it from rubbing through it, but I want it tight into the frame, so that's why I have it angled. So they're down into the groove. Now, I should point out that this only works because this frame is now a unibody frame. It's welded permanently to the other frame, so there's not going to be a lot of movement difference between the two, and that's the only reason this would work. If this were a body-on frame, that would not be a good idea. And now we get to mount our FASS system. So this is the FASS that came off the Ram that we parted out in episode 1. And I'm just going to make a tape template for making our own bracket and isolator mounts. So now I'm just going to make our bracket. So technically we're making this in reverse, but everything's just going to be a through hole on this anyway, since we're going to be mounting it up to the cross member of the van. And I'm just matching up our holes that we transferred, and then I'm going to add a couple additional holes that will just help support our bracket to the cross member. So I'm just winging those ones. I'm just screwing them wherever, and we'll just match it to the frame. Good enough. Now we'll just hold it up there, position it, transfer our holes. I had a couple holes that worked just on their own, and then I'll just add the additional holes. And the ones that get the isolator mount will just go through both, and then the other 4 will just be holding the bracket to the frame by itself. Now all that's overkill. I probably could have just done the isolator mounts, but the problem was, and the reason I did that and I didn't show it, is 2 of the isolator mounts were actually hanging lower than the cross member there, and that's why I did it that way, by adding that aluminum plate. Otherwise, I could have just bolted it straight there. Now you're probably noticing I'm just hooking the lines up, basically how the FASS directions would tell you to hook them up. The only difference is I'm teeing all my return lines because I want all my return to go into the bowl at the bottom of the fuel tank. That way, if we are running low on fuel, it's drinking its own regurgitation out of that sump. That's my idea behind that. Then I 3D printed all my own brackets for this, and those are going to be on my Maker's World handles at Death Toll Racing. So if you need those mounts, those are there. They're free. You can just download them and print them out yourself. They work pretty good, and they kind of Lego together real nice. So they're not a bad little bracket, but they're just very basic. That turned out pretty good though. I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm just going to throw some filters on it. I'm not going to fill them or anything. I'm just going to throw them on dry. I'm going to leave this system dry until we're getting ready to start it up. All right, and this is extra tube here with the pepcock in it. That I put the pepcock in there, but the fuel heater popped out of there while I was taking it apart, and someone had cross-threaded it and stripped it out. And I don't know how that was never an issue for me while I was driving that truck around, but it wasn't. It never was an issue. Now, this area here I'm pointing to, I lowered that fuel line down off that bracket, and I moved the bracket over to the outside of the frame rail. I like that a lot better. So now I'm going to make a drive shaft safety loop for it, because if we were to lose that upper U-joint and complete failure, it could whip around and hit our fuel pump as well as catapult you. This is more of a drag car type of thing, but it's always a good idea to put a safety loop in. A lot of cars don't actually have them from the factory, but if you were to lose that U-joint, you could potentially take out our fuel system. So I just made this little loop, a very simple loop. I wish I could have made it a little bit smaller, but that was the smallest diameter wheel I had. That's just 1 inch Schedule 40. There's a little clearance trick. I had a piece of sheet metal that was hanging over, so I just clearanced it with a hole saw first, and then I did our finish hole. Now they got it mounted. I pre-painted the ends, and then I'm just going to paint the rest of it while it's there, so that it's one and done. I don't have to paint it, let it dry, and then put it in. I just did it all at once, and now I can just lower the thing down and ignore it. We can move on. Moving on is trying to put on our hitch. This is the hitch that came off the truck we parted out, and I am scratching my head because it has 4 bolt holes, but I only have, and all 4 of them were used, but for some reason I only have 3 bolt holes to bolt it up to. So I was scratching my head. All right, guys. So I've discovered that there's quite a few different styles of hitch. This has 3 bolts. The one we were just trying to put on had 4, and it had a clearance for that strut that's on the rear shackle, or the rear leaf spring hanger, whatever you want to call it, the bracket. This truck's obviously not in good shape, but this truck has a different style again. This one has 3, but then it has an additional plate that's added to the side to create a 4th for a hole that we don't have in our frame. We don't have that hole. That hole is missing, but we have those 3 holes, or at least what appear to be those 3 holes. So then we go down to have another frame down here that is different again, and this one's actually going to be the one I'm going to use, that we're going to take off right now, hoping it'll work. It's possible it won't, because this does not have that bracket on the back side of the leaf spring, so it's possible that we won't be able to bolt it on, but I'm not sure if it goes back far enough. Anyway, what's nice about this one, other than all the nastiness of it, it's really not as bad as it looks, but it doesn't have that lip going in, so I won't have to clearance that for the fuel tank, and it's way higher up, which is good, because those other ones, they drop down so far. I think this truck must have had like a flatbed on it or something, but I could have swore this truck had a normal bed on it, but none of this is factory. That's all flatbed stuff. So as I'm sitting here editing this, I actually did, this thing did have a normal bed on it, but it must have just been sitting on it. I actually made a short on it. Check it out. It's kind of funny. So if you have yourself an old pickup truck and the tailgate won't stay shut, let me show you how they should have done it from the factory right from the start. All you got to do is take a strap, hook it around your hitch, hook the strap to a chain, run it up over the cab, and then just hook it conveniently in that spot that they gave you to hook stuff. And now I blessed you with my stupid sense of humor. All right, so now I'm going to wire wheel off as much of the junk as possible. This is going to work on there. It's actually going to work pretty good. So we're going to modify it, though, and make it a little bit nicer. All right. We need to either appreciate the marketing team for powder coating, or I need to ask your guys' opinions on it. My opinion has changed. They had me convinced that stuff was good a long time ago, but I have not been a fan for the last 20 years of powder coating, at least on vehicle stuff. It does not work. On a show car, that's a different story, but on vehicles that were daily drivers and stuff, powder coating just did not live up to the hype. Enough with that. This hitch is going to be a good foundation for our skid plate and for our rear bumper. So we'll be able to make it work, and we'll add to it so that it ends up being pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm glad I had that thing sitting around. Otherwise, we would have been modifying the crap out of one of those factory hitches that were every single one of them was different from each other. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that video. Next video out will be episode 9. I'm actually not sure what it's going to be about yet. I'm going to see what kind of parts we have laying around and see what kind of forward progress we can make. So hopefully we'll see you then.